I am Optimus Prime, and you're watching E.T.N, where the Autobots are subscribed.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob, and this video we're going to review Transformers 4 Age of Extinction. This will be a spoiler-full review simply because I don't consider this movie to have the kind of story where I can break somebody's heart by spoiling anything. But if you don't want to hear spoilers, move on. Okay, plain and simple, I'm going to echo basically what a lot of people have been saying. If you love Transformers, the series, you're going to love this movie. If you don't, you're not. Period. That's where I'm going to start. So let's start on the negative. Way too long. The story is non-existent. The comedy portion of it, which, believe it or not, I have liked in the past, especially with like Sam's mother getting high and this going on campus. I thought that was funny, but the comedy here sucks bad. So that doesn't even help. It just sucks bad. But man, if you're gonna go see this movie, bring a cantina, finish your will, bring an extra pair of shorts, maybe a bar of soap. Bring a checkbook, because if you don't bring your own food, you're going to spend a lot of time at the concession stand. My recommended food to bring to this movie would be rations. Yes, rations. The enemy... Let's get Galvatron out the way real quick. First of all you viewers who may have seen my video, Galvatron the Bitch, and this, and him being remote controlled, a lot of you guys kept pushing on me, and even recently, even though I did this video back in March, the last month, that video has gone from like 40,000 views to over 100,000. And each and every one of you have been saying the same thing. They had tech since Megatron and MB1. They had tech for 100 years. And the funny thing is, you guys put up that big fight, and that had nothing to do with how they did it. Nothing. In fact, what did I say in that video? They picked up all the pieces, I bet, from the Chicago incident, and they got the technology then, and somehow they built a Transformer. What happened in the movie? They took all the parts from Chicago, including Megatron, and they built Transformers. I called it. Sorry, you were wrong. I was right. Had to get out of the way because I had pretty much like 700 comments of people pounding that down my throat, and you were all wrong. So, yeah. All right. So, anyway, moving along. So the funny thing is I gotta say this much. I didn't like the idea of humans building Galvatron. I still don't. But when we look back on it, they really didn't. They really didn't. And this is where the spoilers come in. So if you don't, basically, in a nutshell, and they don't get into detail here, and it would have been nice if they did, but they don't. In a nutshell, Megatron basically led them into building them. You know what I mean? Because they were extracting information and memories from Decepticons, fallen Decepticons. And they were using the little robot from the third movie, Brains, who knows how to translate that information. They were basically forcing him to translate this. Meanwhile, and he knew what was going on. He even admitted it later. He knew that Megatron was plotting this the whole way through. They got this metal called Transforium or Transforum or whatever the hell it is. It's just a stupid name, in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, so they have all these spare parts from the war in Chicago, and that's what they use as the basis to start building their own Transformers. Then they have the Transforum, what they're made of, which obviously we never knew this 3 movies ago. There was no such thing. We had the spark. Now we got this shit, and it makes them transform like little blocks. It's like Tetris. Or like a fucking Rubik's Cube. They break down. It's like they break down into little squares and they can float around and then they come back together. It was probably the dumbest shit I've ever seen. I was like, what is that? Like, it was hard because I spent time trying to realize, is this cool? I kind of like the whole metal mashing together and then coming out. That's what it's all about. These motherfuckers are floating in the air. Like, it looked like a video game. Like, they're floating, and then they separate, and then there's a Transformer. I was like, what the fuck is that? So, anyway, so Galvatron goes rogue pretty early. That made me happy. But after that, that was like his spot in the movie, was that middle point where he goes rogue right on his first mission. not too rogue. He still returns to the humans. They still control him, but he did some extra things that weren't ordered of him. So he had a nice little fight with Optimus, and then that was it. And pretty much you don't see him the rest of the movie. He comes back for a little bit because he wants to go and get this, what I have to call a suppository. It looked like a fucking Transformer suppository, but it was called a seed. But it looked like a suppository that goes up a Transformer's ass. This thing is supposed to be the Revenge of the Fallen version of the end of the world. If it goes off in a certain area, it could just set off this whole thing where anything that's within its range turns into like Cybertronian shit. I don't know where the hell this came from. But hey, it's Transformers. What do you expect? So, moving on. So, Lockdown is the main villain in this movie. He does his thing. He is a very good villain. He's got to be the best villain in the series so far, in my opinion. Definitely the best villain. Mark Wahlberg was good. He did his thing. The girl was there to look pretty, and the boyfriend, that guy was a piece of shit. It was such a waste. I don't even know why he was in the movie. Stanley Tucci was good, and then he got a little bit corny. Like, he went from being this arrogant asshole, which he was, to being a corny, got reduced to, like, comedy type shit, and there was some minor funny moments, but for the most part, it was just really weird to go from what he was to what he was later. In terms of the Transformers, I gotta say that this team of Transformers were definitely showcased a lot better than any other movie. Where in other movies, it's always Prime and Bumblebee, Prime and Bumblebee, Prime and Bumblebee. Where this movie, it's still Prime and Bumblebee, but goddamn, at least this time, these other Autobots were showcased, in my opinion, probably the best way that any other Autobots have been showcased in the movie. Hound was a badass, and John Goodman's voice was so perfect for that robot. Crosshairs and Drift were excellent. In fact, I didn't even know Drift was a dual changer. He's a helicopter and a car. And they are a little bit rough around the edges. Drift and Bumblebee had a little like misunderstanding and threw down a little bit. Hound had to keep Crosshairs in check because Crosshairs, 1 minute he's all about Prime, next minute he's like, "Oh, fuck this, I want to leave." So they got a little attitude. I like that. That to me was good. I enjoyed that. I'm gonna say we only because I started complaining about Galvatron. We've complained about Michael Bay and the Transformers. We've referred to G1. People have said he's taken away my childhood. Guys, I'm going to say it like it is because I don't think no one's ever said this as far as I can tell, and I think this needs to be addressed. Michael Bay, Hasbro, and the team behind the Transformers movie do not give a shit about your childhood. You know why? You're not children anymore. They are gearing these movies towards kids. This movie is for children. It's not for me. It's not for you. So if you're not going to enjoy it, move on. That's it. Because I can tell you right now, this franchise ain't going nowhere. And it's not because this movie's epic. This movie's not epic. Okay, I had fun watching it, but it's a Transformers movie. That's it. There's nothing crazy about it. But it's geared towards kids. And here was my confirmation of that. People on The Nation who I talk to on a regular basis, and they know me, and I have taken screenshots of every movie I've gone to, or a couple of movies I've gone to. You guys have seen my theater. Empty. Empty. Tonight, of all the movies I've seen up to this point, this movie theater was packed. And you know what it was packed with? Kids. From ages 7 to 18. And that's why this movie is a success. They're not going to make this for anyone who likes G1. They're not going to make it for anyone who's 22, 23. There may be a couple of people around 14, 15 that hate it. But you know what? For the most part, you got kids. The kids are going to love this. The kids eat this shit up. Just like we did. What is so sophisticated about the G1 series when I look back at it compared to this? Really nothing. It's a kids show. This is a kids movie, and that's it. And once you accept that, and once you realize that this is not for you and it's not for me, then you can say, you know what? Fuck it. Switch it off. Just go enjoy the light show. That's what it's about. Now, I will say one thing. and I'm going to end my review here because there really isn't much else to talk about in the movie. One thing I will say that I probably enjoyed the most, the Dinobots introduction. From the time that they came off the ship to the time that Optimus and they were making their way into the fight, that to me was probably one of the best scenes I've seen in a movie this year outside of The Kiss of Death. That's how I felt about that scene. There's a lot of people complaining that the Dinobots weren't in it enough. Honestly, I was fine. I was fine with the way they came in. They came in, they killed it, and they bounced. That's the Dinobots. In a nutshell, the Dinobots are a faction of the Autobots. They are not actually part of the Autobots. They are teamed with them, but Grimlock is the leader of the Dinobots. They're a separate faction that derives from the Autobots. That is how they were portrayed, you know, and almost very similar to the G1. Optimus had to fight for their respect. In the G1 Classic, basically the Dinobots beat the shit out of the Autobots, but they tried to establish that. I think it was fine. It really is not. I mean, some people get so worked up about this movie. But at the end of the day, look, too long. The story sucks. It was so predictable that not even trying, I called what was going to happen back in March. You know what I mean? Galvatron, I kind of liked him. He was a little bit of a disappointment for me. All the other robots that were part of Galvatron's team were just forced. That shit was whack. Lockdown was the man. Lockdown was kick-ass. Hound was kick-ass. Optimus and Bumblebee are their normal selves. There's nothing groundbreaking about them. Drift and Crosshairs were very cool. And the Dinobots came in, did their thing. They made their impact, and they bounced. Plain and simple. It's like I said, guys. You just go to watch this movie to have fun. There's no story. This is a movie for kids. You're not going to get what you want. You never will. This is geared towards children. They keep the story simple. And and that's why I don't get disappointed at movies like this, because I know what to expect. If you go in there thinking every time this, and I don't want to hear anyone complaining who saw the movie and knew that you don't like it. The Dinobots being in it is no excuse. You knew what was going to happen with the Dinobots, okay? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. So if you don't like Transformers, stop seeing the movie. Seriously, stop seeing the movie. You're never gonna get what you want. If you like the series, continue to enjoy it. It is fun. It does get fun. This one was stretched out a lot though. They gotta cut that. They gotta edit this shit down. This was like Lord of the Rings, like Return of the King extended edition, except just not as good. Not nearly as good. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna talk more Transformers. There's still some things I want to discuss on the movie itself and some other subjects regarding the movie, but I don't want this to be too long. It's already been past 10 minutes, so you can expect more Transformer videos coming up just to discuss some things, and we'll go from there. Anyway, this is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Don't forget to subscribe and join the Nation Facebook page.